In this week's AI for Web Designers, we're going to take a look at 10 different ways in which you can harness the power of AI to make you more efficient, more profitable, or ultimately just open up opportunities you may not have realized were there. Let's take a look at the first one. If you're a WordPress user, there are lots of ways in which we can tap into AI in various different plugins in various different forms. We're going to take a look at 2 in this particular instance, but there are lots more, and we'll take a look at some more as we go through the video. First up, if you're a Fluent Forms user, and I'm only using the free plugin here, you can use AI to help you create forms without you having to go through the boring process of dragging and dropping all those different pieces in. You can obviously customize things afterwards, but this is a great starting point. To get started, all we need to do is come into Fluent Forms and create a new form. From the options, we're going to choose Create Using AI. And now we've got an option to pop in what we want the form to do. We can choose any starting suggestions. So for example, we may say we want to have customer feedback. You can see that pops the prompt in for us. We can choose other ones from here, like job application and so on. And then you can also include any specific questions you may want to include. So we'll just pop in a couple of additional questions and we'll click create and see what it comes back with. After a few moments, this is the form we have. So we've got name, email, phone, address lines, work experience, company name, start date, end date, etc., expected salary, and so on. So there's a great starting point, which we can now use this, start adding any extra fields we want in, tweaking and adjusting it. But all of this original heavy lifting has been done in the matter of probably 10 seconds, making our lives a lot easier. Next on our list is a more complicated example. Let's say you're creating a website that is database driven and you want to have relationships and those kinds of things all set up. So for example, it could be a real estate website, job listing website, car sales website, all manner of different dynamic websites. This is something that takes a lot of time, unless you're using JetEngine, at which point you can use their website builder. So with JetEngine installed and website builder activated, let's pop in there. This will again ask us for some prompts, some additional information, so functionality and so on. So all we need to do is drop in the information we want to use to start this process off. I've got a really simple prompt here and I'm going to tell it what functionality I need to include. So I've told it I want to organize jobs by the industry, company listing with details about the jobs they offer and the company itself, and also filtering by company, industry, salary, and so on. Because I'm using Jet Smart filters, we can use the AI inside that as well. So we've told it what we want. Let's go and preview this website model. Then after a few seconds, we get an outline of what it suggests we create to create the custom post types, the relationships, and the filters that are going to be associated with this particular model. You can see everything is listed inside here for the job and the company, the relationships that connects the jobs and the companies together, the filters, what we can filter by. We can easily come in, add, edit, change, remove anything we want inside here. So if you don't want, for example, job requirements, you could delete it. You want to edit it, you can absolutely edit it, and you can change various aspects inside here. So once we're happy with everything, all we need to do then is say we understand, click create website model, and that will now create all the database information, the tables, the filters, everything for us. Let's hit that. That then gives us the structure builder, which will allow us to edit, change, add, remove, all those kinds of things inside here. We can query this, base listing information, add posts to it, kind of a quick start area. We can then update if we make any changes. But also notice now on the left-hand side, we've got 3 new post types created. We've got companies, job, and job listing. So we can easily come into the companies, for example. This will show us we have Google inside here. We open this up. We now have the option for the location, job, children, etc., etc. So all that heavy lifting has now been carried out for us by using Jet Smart filters and JetEngine and the AI options to be able to handle all of this pretty laborious task automatically. Pretty cool. Next up, we're going to take a look at DeepResearch. Now, ChatGPT has this option and various other AI tools also have a similar kind of option. DeepResearch does, as its name suggests, it will go off and research information available on the internet, on groups and things like that you tell it, Reddit and things, and it will come back with a much more detailed response. I've used this very effectively to analyze existing websites, find out areas that need to be improved, changed, updated, opportunities for content to be created, to answer questions that are commonly asked in groups like Reddit and so on. We can use this to kind of do market research for our target audience and then give us real world actionable results we can go through then and tweak our website with. Obviously, you don't have to take everything, and if you want to do more research, you can do, but this is a great starting point and something that previously would probably either cost you a lot of money or time, or you would have had to have someone employed inside your business to be able to handle these kinds of sort of research options for you. So as you can see, this was my prompt. I want a detailed and actionable analysis of the following website, drop in the URL for it. The goal is to improve conversion rates, search visibility, and audience resonance without using misleading claims or overhyped copy. And then I told it exactly how I want to structure this down for audience fit and messaging, value proposition, conversion optimization, copywriting, and so on. Again, like I say, I've used DeepResearch to do this. It then comes back, asks us a couple more questions to clarify what we're looking for. So, for example, where do you want it to be sort of international, or do you want this to be a specific country? In this example, we wanted SMEs in the UK. So you give that answers and then give it about 10 minutes to go off and do that research. And you'll see it comes back with a lot of information. It tells us it's taken us 11 minutes, it's used 29 resources, 76 searches, and it's come back and answered based upon what we've asked it to do. And you see it's broken it down into that same order. So conversion and SEO audit for particular website for the UK SME audience. So it tells us audience fit and message is friendly and conversational, exactly what we're looking for. And it goes through, it even sort of cites exactly where it gets the information from when it comes back and gives you actionable feedback on how you could improve various different aspects. There's your recommendations, your value proposition and offer clarity. Again, recommendations, conversion optimization, tells you what it does, what it doesn't do, then gives you actionable recommendations. So you can use something like this DeepResearch to go and do research on a particular website for a client. You can do it for competitor research. There's so many different ways in which you can use this, and I've used this effectively in lots of different ways, even to go through and just check the copy and consistency on, for example, a landing page, a sales funnel, and so on. It's very, very useful. Now, if you're enjoying this video and getting value from it, why not pop down and tell YouTube by hitting that thumbs up button? And while you're down there, you can also hit the subscribe button to be notified when new content just like this is added to the channel. As always though, if you're not enjoying it, you can hit the thumbs down button twice, as that works pretty well too. Anyway, let's get back on with the video. Next up, let's talk about web design, wireframing, sitemaps, all those kinds of time-consuming things that we have to do when we're working on a web design project, whether it's a redesign or a new design. These are things we generally have to do. So let's talk about Relume. Now, I'll cover Relume in various different videos, and I will link to those down in the description down below, along with all the links for everything I've covered in this video. So this gives us 4 different ways in which we can tap into it to speed up this part of the overall process. I've already done something here, and I want to show you so you can see what kind of results we get. But this is the sitemap, and your sitemap is probably the lowest fidelity way in which you can envisage how a site is structured. Again, if you're working on anything over a couple of pages, a sitemap is going to be incredibly invaluable for you and potentially for your customer and client. So what this does is it breaks the site down into the various different pages. So homepage, about, service, portfolio, and contact. You can add more, you can delete, you can change, you can do everything. Everything is totally editable here. Then it gives you a breakdown of the various different sections it recommends. And again, this is recommendation, so this is just your starting point. I'm not suggesting that this is your starting point, middle point, end point, then you build it. You can do, but in most cases, this is part of the process, not the overall process. So you can see this breaks it down. We can easily select any of these. We can change various different aspects. We can move it around. We can delete it if we don't want it. So for example, we may not want to have a feature section. We can hit delete on there, get rid of it, add extra sections in if you want to, make global, so your header and footer sit on every single page. So if you have a very specific call to action you want it on all your pages, you can set that up inside here. Once you've done this and you've got your sitemap, the next thing to do is create a wireframe, which is a low fidelity mock-up of how the site would be sort of visualized based upon these various different pages and the various different sections in each of these pages. Again, all editable. You can come back at any point to any of these 4 stages and make changes. So jump over to the wireframe. This is now a medium fidelity kind of layout. We can now see the various different parts. We can easily edit, change, remove, change the actual section itself. We want to have video, for example. We want to have a form inside there, picture. You want to change this out to something completely different. You can just shuffle it up if you want to and get some suggestions from the AI, or you can come in and choose one specifically. So we'll say we want this one. We can change the copy if you want to. You can prompt it to give you more. You see how this works. And then you've got your sort of medium fidelity layout. If you're happy with how this looks, you can then move on to your style guide. Your style guide is where you start to give it colors, typography, the various different UI styling for its basic elements like the buttons, the rounded corners, and so on. Again, we have options to specifically target exactly what we want. So if you've got a brand guideline from a customer client, you can easily insert those values inside here. If you just want to sort of throw caution to the wind and just try something out for a bit of fun, again, you can do that here. You can easily select any of these sections, upload your own images. You can change the text on any of these. You can have it automatically pull in images. You can shuffle the text if you want to. If you want to adjust the styling for the buttons, you can absolutely do that. Want square corners, not a problem. Updates in real time. So you can set these options up inside here. You can have your light mode, your dark mode. Come back into your wireframes if you want to change something. Come back in, change it. Jump back into style guide. It updates in real time. So there's lots of options here. You can create multiple different iterations of this, and then you can use this to pitch your concepts to your customer or your client. So you can have up to 3 different options here, and you can share it with them, get their feedback. If you want to go one step further, a newer feature is the design tab. This is still in beta for my American friends. But what this does is this gives you now a high fidelity mock-up of all of the different pages throughout your site. So now if you want to, and you want to kind of come in and really flesh this design out, you can come in and you can set the images you want, change the text inside here, and create every single page designed from the scratch right the way through to what you would consider to be client sign off before you then start to create it. And speaking of creating it, there's various different ways you could do it. If you're a WordPress user like myself, unfortunately, it is a little bit more manual, but the amount of time you've saved actually going through this process should easily pay off and make you more profitable. And you can use something like Bricks alongside a wireframe tool like Brixies, which is what I recommend, because a lot of the designs inside Brixies are very, very similar to what you'll find inside Relume, which makes the whole process so much quicker and easier. So you could put a site like this together probably in the space of half a day, whereas maybe it would take you a couple of days, maybe a week or 2 to actually get to the same point. If you want to fettle your design even further, you can easily take this over and export this into Figma and really go to town to get exactly what you want. So if this is a little too basic for you and you want to add in animations and background images and various different interactive elements, you could take this over to something like Figma, take it to the next level. If you wanted to, then you could export this to Webflow, React, HTML, up to you. Lots of different ways in which you can handle this. Next on our list is taking that prototyping to a different level. We've seen how you could use something like Relume to be able to visually create these kind of mockups. But what if you wanted something that's a little bit more interactive to show a client to get their feedback on how it actually works before you then move on and functionally build this out? This is the kind of process that could ultimately take an awful long time and become very, very expensive. And the budget for the client may just not be there. This is where tools like Bolt and Lovable and so on come in super handy. Now, for example, I wanted to prototype a directory listing website for businesses and to include information about the local area for the tourist industry in a town near me. I've previously built their original website for this, so I was curious to see how it would work. So I've prompted this through just normal prompts. We've connected it up to a database, so it's all database driven. There's a front end dashboard that's locked away behind a password protected area. So this is a fully functional website. If you wanted to push this off and actually use this, you absolutely could do. But if you're just using this to prototype to kind of get a feel for it, because the visuals are just not where you want them to be, it's a great starting point that saves you hours and hours and hours of time. So this is a fully functional website. This has actually found the website that I created for them, and it's pulled in the information for both the businesses and for the things to do. So I haven't put this in myself. This has all been done by grabbing that data and scraping it from the actual live website, which is insane. So let's take a quick look. I've published this onto a page, and this is the actual site in action. So we've got a light and dark mode. We can see all businesses. So this will show us the businesses. We've got filtering inside here. We can open up one of these businesses. You can see we've got call now, get directions, the phone number, and so on. These all work. If we click on get directions, this will take us over to, in this example, Google Maps with the address and show us how we can get there. Click call now. It'll actually, if you're using this on a phone, it will dial that number for you. You can see it's pulled the information in, the reviews. The only thing it hasn't done is pull in the location, and that's because I haven't connected it up to the Google Maps API. If we did, these would work. If we want to take a look at things to do, again, we can jump into this section, all filterable. We've got featured activities. Come in and take a look at the activity. Again, we've got get directions, the category this is in. We've got information there about tags, so castle, museum, history, family friendly, the duration, information about it, again, the location if we had that all set up and working. If you want to add a business in, you can absolutely do that. You can see this can be added in. The cool thing with this is if you submit this business listing, it will not be published on the website. It'll be passed over to the back end of the site and have to be confirmed by an administrator before it will show on the website. So we've got that all set up so you can't just have junk installed on you. Then if you want to manage your businesses, you want to manage your things to do section, we've got a locked admin section. Once you log in, you can see we now have a full dashboard all set up. These are all our businesses. If you want to take a look at your things to do, jump over to that section, all listed there, featured and so on. We can publish, we can set these to unpublished. If we come into our businesses, we can set things to be draft, rejected, and so on. You want to edit or preview any of these, preview it. Get this will pop up, that'll show you all the information. Want to edit this? Not a problem. Click on the edit option and you can see there's our form with all the same information from the front end, but we now have the option to reject this, draft it, actually make it published and so on. So a full dashboard has been set up and configured for us, all just through some simple English prompts. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Would I recommend at this point in time you use this to be the final end result? Depends on what you're actually trying to achieve. As long as you're not storing any sensitive data, I think this could potentially work quite well. And if you are comfortable with code and you understand what's going on, which is what I would honestly recommend that you are, if you are going to delve into using things like this, then at least you can go through, you can check for security issues and so on and so forth. These are only going to get better. And that's the whole point with all of this AI technology. It's going to get better and better and better. We're seeing crazy jumps in how powerful these tools are becoming. So in the next year, I think these are going to become incredibly powerful tools that will take away a lot of the legwork that we have to do as designers and developers. Now, we have to talk about using AI to generate images and video. And unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks, you've probably heard about Nano Banana, which is basically Google Gemini 2.5 Flash. That's the official name for it, but I still think Nano Banana is way cooler and way funnier. What this allows you to do and what this has done that up until recently hasn't been very easy to achieve with AI and images is to keep the consistency between the various different iterations. For example, we've got Bob, my fictitious UI UX designer. And if you bought my course, you'll know who Bob is. Now, Bob wants to go and buy a new Mac. So we've sent Bob off to an Apple store. And there he is talking to a representative inside the Apple store. Bob still looks like Bob. The Apple representative is showing off some nice Apple Macs and it looks like an Apple store. They've even got the little ridge in between where all the cables go on the desks to display the various different Macs. Pretty cool. Next up, Bob is doing so well right now that he's got himself a nice cushy job in a nice New York design business, working on amazing UI and UX. So let's take a look at Bob in his natural surroundings. There's Bob in his new office with his cool shirt on and glasses, but it still looks just like Bob. If we take a look at the original image, there's Bob in normal, there's Bob via AI. Bob's working on his own because it's lunchtime and everyone's gone out. But now it's no longer lunchtime and all of Bob's work colleagues have come back. And look, Bob hasn't moved, but all his colleagues are working hard. And Bob still looks like Bob and all those elements still look the same. This is what I consider to be one of the strengths of using something like Nano Banana. And you can use this with clients' products, clients themselves, set them in different environments, and keep their likeness and so on. Would you use it for the final end result? Depends on what you're trying to achieve and how good those results are. And again, this is getting better and better and better. It's going to be a time where you no longer need those photographers to do all the different settings for those various different products or for the people. You take a headshot, you take a product shot, a beauty shot, whatever it is, you can set that in the environments you want to use it in. So great if you're doing mockups, great if you're doing products for hero sections, for product demos, for e-commerce and so on. Super useful ways in which you can use AI and keep that consistency between your images. Next up, let's talk email, because let's be honest about it, if you are running a business or you're working with a client that runs a business, especially e-commerce, email is going to be incredibly important. And that's where we're going to take a look at today's sponsor of this particular section, Omnisend, and some of the things that you use their AI to actually achieve. So Omnisend gives us some really simple ways in which we can harness the power of AI to work on our emails, our email automation, and so on. So I'm inside my dashboard and I want to create an automation. I'm going to pop over to the automation section. I'm going to create a workflow. I'm going to say this is going to be a welcome email. So we'll say we'll customize that workflow. There's our trigger that triggers the old workflow. We'll wait for a minute. We're going to send them an email. But I suck at writing emails. So let's open this up and you'll notice we get these little symbols that denote the fact we can use AI. We also get up here at the top for email. So now all I need to do, if I suck at doing this kind of thing, is remove that from there. Let's click on the AI, tell it what I want to do, and hit enter. That's now going to use AI and come back with what it thinks is going to be the right way of doing it. The cool thing is, because we can use these little sort of short codes to pull in the user's name and so on, the subscriber's name, and if they haven't included one, we can have a fallback. We can use that, and it's already put it in for us. So we'll say, yep, we can use that. But if we want to, we can change the tone, translate it, shorten it, rephrase it, simplify it. But let's say we're happy with that. We'll pop that inside there. Cool. Do the same thing for your pre-header. And if you want to, you can also do the same thing for your content. So let's edit the content. Say yes, we'll save our changes. So now we can use AI to modify this or add new content in and use AI there as well. So for example, let's say we've got this. We want to change this from being the generic. Let's select it. There's our little AI symbol. Let's click on it. Let's say change the tone to, hit enter. There we go. We've now changed that to be much more interesting. So let's select it. Boom. That's now been updated. Pretty cool. Let's say we want to add a new element in. Let's say add elements. We want text. We'll pop that inside there. And now we can use AI to easily tell it exactly what we wanted to do. So by using these various different AI tools inside Omnisend, you can see how easy it is to create and edit your email sequences with the help of AI to make sure that we've got exactly the right tone and the content. And if we want to tweak it, we absolutely can do. Now, if you're working with a client that has international customers, one of the things they're probably going to want to do is translate their website. This is something that can be slow, time-consuming, and not the most fun thing to do in the world. Well, this is where you could use AI, especially if you want to connect this up to things like Whisper AI, which is a very good translation model. We can use plugins like GP Translate to easily translate our entire website for us just by using AI. So as long as you've got your English version or whatever your native language is all locked in, then the translation done by AI should come back with pretty solid results. Obviously, they're never going to be as good as a human person writing this for yourself, but it's a great starting point, and if you need to tweak them, this has saved you a huge amount of time and effort. So take a look at using AI to actually handle the whole translation process for your website. Now, speaking about handling text, transcriptions, and so on, MacWhisper is a great AI-based tool that allows you to do just that. You can input videos, you can input audio, you can even speak directly into it, and it will create transcriptions. You can translate it, you can use AI prompts to do various different things inside you. Let me quickly show you. Let's open a file. This will now go off and transcribe that video for me. As you can see, this breaks everything down exactly what I've said inside this video. This is quite cool, but imagine you've actually used a call and you've recorded that call and you've got multiple different people on there, or you've recorded a podcast with different presenters and guests and so on. This will actually break this down and show you the speaker recognition inside you. You can create transcripts, which will give you the just overall text, segments, which will break it down to time slots, which you can then easily upload to something like YouTube and so on, or if you're creating a course, this is absolutely perfect for that kind of thing. But then you can take it so much further. You can use the AI option, and we're using ChatGPT here for this, but we can say we can split this into paragraphs, separate the speakers, identify emojis, generate an FAQ. So let's click on that. This is going to create an FAQ based upon the transcription of that particular video. And there we go. You can see now we're going through and it's creating those FAQ with the answers. So what is the AI tool discussed in this video used for? How was the prototype originally created? Etc, etc. And you can create your own ones here. So if you want to create like YouTube descriptions, you want to grab a blog post and create a blog post from this. Let's click on that. That will now go and create a blog post based upon the transcription we have here. So if you were using this for a client, for example, and maybe they do a podcast, maybe they do videos, well, you can say, well, let me have the video and I can do all of these things. We can add it to your site and do these cool things, all done via AI inside a tool like MacWhisper. Now, for those of you that really want to get stuck into actually working with automation, MCP service, and those kinds of things, you could use a tool like N8N. Now, I've covered the basics of getting N8N installed on a service like xCloud. You can obviously go and pay for this if you want to as well. But N8N is basically an automation tool that you can connect up to various different AI models and get it to do pretty cool things. So, for example, you could set a schedule trigger up on here. So every single day it goes to your WordPress website, for example, takes a look if there's new content written on there, and then get this to actually create a sort of email sequence or whatever you kind of want to do using AI. And you can connect this up. You can have memory on your AI model. There's so many different things you can do here with a tool like N8N and using the AI functionality. Other tools like Flowmatic and so on will do similar kinds of things. And if you want to have something that's totally sort of self-contained, N8N is a great option. If you want something that's more WordPress based, you could use something like Flowmatic, and you could use those to connect up to various different AI models and do so many different things. This opens up a lot of really powerful automation things that tap into AI and what that can bring to the table for you. So maybe you want to have it to automatically create a thumbnail based upon the content that you've written inside a blog post or an article. Well, you could use a tool like this to automate that process, to look out for when a new article has been posted, to read through the content, then use AI to generate that featured image and add that to that post. Pretty cool what you could do with tools like this. Like I said, this is just a simple example. You can get super complicated with tools like this and have lots of different aspects going off and firing at various different intervals for various different things. Opens up a lot of AI-based power. So in this last example, let's take a look at how we could tap into a tool like ChatGPT or any other AI tool to create things like email sequences and so on for us. Let's go and ask it to do a welcome email sequence for people joining my WordPress community. We want 3 emails in this sequence. So we'll ask it, and it'll come back and create that for us. So you can see there's a welcome to our community name, which we could use dynamic content inside here, depending on what the tools we're using. And then we've got sort of placeholders, which we can tap into and use whatever email tool we're using. There's our first one, encourage participation, and then activate and deliver value. So there's various different ways we could use this, and we could tweak this to get even more refined on exactly what we want. But when you have a lot of email sequences to create for various different things, so people signing up, people completing courses, maybe completing lessons, maybe answering a questionnaire, getting feedback from clients and so on, this is where handling it via using AI to create these, if you're not strong at it, and then just using these to start off with to get you sort of like your brain firing, get those neurons going, so you can get a head start and then customize this, put it into your own voice. Cool thing is, if you were using something like ChatGPT, you could create a project folder for this, and then everything you want to create can be stored inside there, and it'll retain the tone of voice and the instructions you give it throughout that entire set of different conversations. On different conversations, as long as you're inside that folder, they will retain that same information. They'll be interlinked with each other, which is a very powerful way in which you can use a tool like ChatGPT to keep that consistent tone of voice across all the different communication methods you may have, whether that's landing pages, whether it's sales funnels, email sequences, whatever. It's a great way of being able to use AI. And again, these are services in which you can sell to your clients. Not everybody has either the time, skill, or inclination to go through and do these, what are frankly pretty laborious and boring things to do for a lot of users. This could speed up the process. And again, all these things can either make you more efficient, make you more profitable, or save you time. And ultimately, that does increase your bottom line. But I'm going to put the question over to you. What tools are you using inside your business right now that are AI-based, that are helping you become more productive, more profitable, or just opening up opportunities you may not have noticed without using AI? Drop a comment in the comment section down below and let me know. As always, all applicable links for everything covered in this video are in the description down below. My name is Paul C. This is WP Tuts, and until next time, take care.